Hello, League of Legend fans, and welcome back. I mean, match two between these two teams. There's a lot different than what I was expecting and what we saw out of that first match. RMC, your first thoughts on that? What was that?
Um, I hesitate to call that group banger after that game. It certainly wasn't the funnest game. It certainly wasn't the most exciting. But I did say I wanted to see EGP reset mental, and if anything else, that proved that they did.
Yeah.
They took it really slow, and by which I mean really slow. Grinded it out, found the win in a way that really didn't give Ginger Turmeric anything to work with.
Yeah, for sure. And then we do have the draft on stream. Thank you so much, producers. Eric, talk us through this because it is definitely quite a bit different from what we saw in that first match as well.
Yeah, so the main things that I thought were really interesting between this draft and last draft were I thought it was really interesting that EGP seemed to prioritize taking that Syndra away from DNA. And I think that was something that was also tried to be answered by Turmeric, where they picked the Lux into it, which is actually a pretty good matchup into the Syndra. So between that, I think that's the most interesting thing that I saw there. I also like that they did a fighter versus fighter top lane instead of a tank versus tank like last game. But yeah, overall, I just think pretty standard team comps, and yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to make a note. Smacks, you questioned who would have thought, Lux would be a good counter to Syndra. This guy right here called it. As soon as he saw the Lux, just like, that's not a support Lux, that's a mid Lux. It's a counter. And yeah, sure enough, it worked in lane.
For sure. And that was, we talked about the slow start to the game and the replay that we have up first. RMC, if you want to take us through here, I think kind of explains why it got off to such a slow start.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a slow pacing coming through. And it all started at that level 1 pretty much right away there from the series, because we saw City Witty, we saw Existence, and we saw DNA all kind of going in and contesting this Hecarim. It's a good idea. I mean, you're dueling as that Trundle is pretty strong early, but more importantly, this sort of sequence of events extended out for an incredible amount of time. And yeah, it's all action, it's all fun to watch, but what it's doing as well is it's messing up all the timings, because suddenly you're mid, you're top, they aren't setting their waves properly, and it's a rush for everybody to get back to lane. Your junglers are going to be late as well, so if you were planning, any sort of 3-minute dives or early wave crashes and stuff like that, that gets thrown off. And if that continued extending, you'd see that the one who suffered the most actually ended up being Faisal, which go back into the jungle, missed the majority of his first wave, a little bit of the second wave as well, and then for pretty much the entire laning phase was about a level down from Existence because of that level 1.
Definitely. I think just to kind of piggyback off that, it really, really, really messed up Faisal that game. I think that there were points in it where he was half CS down. They really, it seemed like Turmeric really tried to focus down that top lane, and they really succeeded. And I think that level 1 play really, set the pace for that.
Yeah, definitely. And then our next replay that we have up as well is a dragon fight where EG started to take a little bit of that momentum and started, hurrying up the game at that point with a big win here, Eric.
Yeah, I think that up until this point, the game just seemed kind of like sluggish almost a little bit. And this was one of the first times that we saw like a full-on team fight and got to see the power of EGP. And I think that this was the point in the game which really EGP showed Turmeric that they were the pants in this game. They're going to win all these fights, and that's exactly what they did in this fight.
Yeah, and now that we've got to see the slower play style and the fact that EG was able to close out the game, it's all down to this game number 3. Of course, somebody is going home or remaining home, and somebody is going on to the playoffs. If this slow style play is something that goes adopted into that game 3, is this just going to be an EG win with how they've been performing so far, RMC?
Oh boy, I really hope it won't be another such a slow game, but if it does, I think we have to favor EG Prodigies from the way they did play. The other part of it though is the draft, because in this particular draft we didn't see a ton of scaling picks come through from either side, whereas if say it was a game 1 draft, right, like what Ginger Turmeric picked the first time with the Senna, with the Ezreal, with the Sion, well then scaling ends up favoring them. Slow play would favor them as well. So I think in terms of that, we'd have to look at the draft to see how things really pan out and who wants to play fast, who wants to play slow.
Yeah, then Eric, what would be the biggest change that if you as a fellow person betting on Ginger Turmeric here, what is the change that you would like to see from Ginger Turmeric to try and come out ahead in this draft and potentially in this series?
So kind of, I agree with RMC here, where I think that Turmeric really needs to start picking more scaling champions, or at least open that up for their team. I think that in game one, it was probably their biggest strength that they had that Senna on their team, they had that Ezreal, that they were able to really pick it up after a certain point. I think that if EG continue to play the game as slow as they did last game, it would be really beneficial for Turmeric to start picking some scaling champions and, give them a win condition that way than just playing, completely standard and winning earlier on.
All right. And then for EG, is that something to potentially maybe worry about going into this game 3 that, this playing slow, it's worked for us? Maybe Ginger Turmeric's trying to counter this?
Honestly, I just think that EG has shown that they kind of understand. I think EG understands, the pace of the game a little bit better here. So I think they have the upper hand in terms of that. And I don't think really that Turmeric is going to, do too much. I just think that they should pick scaling things, let the game go on, and do their thing.
RMC, what about you?
I agree. I think Ginger Turmeric has not really shown us that they are masters of pace control. So you know what, just play it a little slower, right? That's where you tend to have found success. If you are going to play early, like they did in the OQs, they found success with Kalista in the bot side, but that's been banned the entire series, right? So if Kalista is not available, I just don't see how Ginger Turmeric are going to play the early game. So just go late. And then EG Prodigies, if they want to play early, I think they can. I think right now EG Prodigies can do kind of whatever they want. They understand their win conditions, and they're looking kind of better. They just have to not mess up, which isn't like that big a deal for them. Whereas, Ginger Turmeric, you don't have that sort of flexibility. Or at least if they do, I have yet to see it.
All right, well, we'll have to see if they can bring a little bit of flexibility into this game 3, because it is do or die. It is now or never. Winner, of course, makes it on to playoffs. And for that, we're going to be throwing it over to the caster desk. I didn't get to hear too much from you before, but I'd love to hear from you now, Deserex and Smax.
All I gotta say is EGP, they played good League of Legends in that game number 2. That was pretty. That was pretty spot on. Smax, what's your take on this?
I agree. They did play good League of Legends, Deserex. I think they definitely deserved that victory. The scholars of the game, as we are, we know good League of Legends when we see it. Evil Geniuses delivered, especially after the first 10 minutes of the game. I think Ginger Turmeric really did bring it to them early, but EG really just put a stop to that as soon as they possibly could. They picked off a DNA in the mid lane a bunch of times after that, and I don't know, it was quite nice. So good stuff, EG.
Yeah, smooth sailing for EGP. Ginger Turmeric, the pick that we were excited about, that we were hyped about, DNA on that Lux pick, it was fun. It was definitely fun in the early stages, but you're kind of seeing what happens when your kit is that limited into just doing long range things. You get a little bit too close, you get picked out, and DNA couldn't stay alive in some of those, but that was the condition for Ginger, right? Get all your damage onto one source as fast as possible. It was a little bit too niche of a condition, and they can get it to come together.
Yep. They didn't have anything to clean up the members that were poked out or were picked off as well. So once it got to the late game, when you do pick somebody off with the Lux Snare, it's not an instant kill. And I do actually want to give a lot of credit to Daption as well for dropping ego and picking the Tahm Kench. It's not a very fun champion sometimes, but you do have that ultimate, and it was so clutch multiple times in that last game for saving a bunch of members, specifically very good against that team composition that Ginger Turmeric locked in. As we see in this draft, they're going back over to the blue side, and all the same bands still.
All the same bands.
It's probably going to be a rise.
I do want to echo that on Daption. That Tahm Kench, some of those last moment plays, just barely by the skin of the teeth, devouring at the right time before the final spark goes out. That was some pretty intense timing coming out of Daption. And I also really need to commend Leo for how well he was able to play that Syndra as he got into the late game. Speak of the devil, DNA is getting his girl back.
I mixed up my series, by the way. I was thinking of the last series with the Rise, but hey, I ended up being right that it was here. Leo going over to that champion instead. as a response to the Syndra. It's really interesting. It's a very big late game DPS style of champion. We saw it a lot in the last series, funny enough. But it's definitely something that can get picked off. It can get abused early by this Syndra that DNA is playing. And again, he knows this champion very, very well.
Very well indeed, Leo, with the rise. So Zavaris getting locked in. So the long-range poke, Sketch going to be on that duty once again, facilitating some of this lane control and the roamability that you can get with the rise. Your Turmeric responds by locking in Senna, and this is the champion I've been personally waiting for, where the Hecarim was going to go. Ginger Turmeric, lock that in.
All right, City Witty having some damage in these drafts finally. I'm super excited for this. He has been looking really solid when he's at the forefront of dealing all the damage. I really liked his Kha'Zix, and I'm sure I'm going to like this Hecarim also. This is what we know City Witty to be super skilled at. Just as a player in general, we saw him last year, previously known as Leak during the last circuit of 2021, coming back onto this squad for Ginger Turmeric. He still has that same propensity to play these carries and really take over a game, and this draft does a lot of favors for that.
Diving into that a little bit more with the way City Witty's played in the past, we've known him to go for a very wide but carry heavy pool. Zed, Kha'Zix, Graves, these are the champions that are within his wheelhouse that he's played with in the last season, and still expanding upon that and still playing a little bit more towards that role. I have much more of a positive impression from Perry more than anyone else who has fully committed to the adaptions that he's learned, to fully committed towards deepening his champion pool.
Perry's he's back to that Volibear, so not deepening it too far. He's going back to that champion from game one, but he had a phenomenal performance on it there, and he needs to keep that same level of skill going in the early game against his Hecarim, because you don't have a lot of time on your hands when you're playing Volibear here. You're going to be an effective late game scaling champion. In terms of being a tank, the damage is not there. And Perry, after just playing a Hecarim, will need to make that adjustment to just being a big wall for his team again.
I got to put this on a little bit of a sidebar with the Volibear. Every time I see the Volibear ult go off, I can't help but to think of Space Jam. I just think of the Michael Jordan jump, and it makes me want to dunk Master Volley. It just straight up throws it into the hoop like that. Right.
Dunk Master Volibear coming. This is.
Do you not see it, man? Do you not see it?
Oh no, I do. Yeah, for sure. He's winds up. For sure. Yeah,
Getting back into this.
Yeah, they need to revive the Dunk Master skin line. And what better way to transition?
We summoned him! We summoned him, Smacks! Say his name and he shall appear!
Existence Darius. Oh man, that's so cool. And it's a response to the Scion too. You on Evil Genius's Prodigy side, they had this red side, and they decided against giving Faisal the counter pick in order to make sure Daption has a safe lane to keep Sketch alive into the creativity that comes with this Senna. And truthfully, with this Morgana, it's a bit curious on what's actually going on. Because if Morgana's there, do you farm with the Senna? Is it Duo King that's playing it? Is Lagrange a Morgana player? Are they doing something else that's completely ridiculous? I don't know.
The biggest expectation to at least see the Morg Senna in the bottom. For a moment there, I saw the Syndra and I was like, but no. With the Morgana and Senna, how this does play out, it's an interesting one to see. I mean, you do get a lot of pushing potential and a lot of pick potential that complements very, very well with Syndra, especially complementing a lot of these ganks that can come out from City Witty. The snare is another thing that another tool that can be used to really enable this bot lane to try and turn it into a death lane.
It's really interesting. With the Black Shield too, adding that onto the utility for Hecarim is going to be pretty helpful. Mm-hmm. So it's got that extra power in lane. You can farm pretty safely with a Tormented Soil. I think they actually changed it. Tormented Shadow is what it's called now.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure. Tormented Soil just sounds right still, though, after
Yeah,
all these years.
I still remember the old Luxol, Finalis Fukin. That's what it was called, yeah. I think it was
don't
like the
remember that.
German Final Spark or something like that. Is someone can
Sounds
correct me
German.
in the Twitch chat, yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I did not know that it used to be called that. That's pretty cool. Was Demacia supposed to be like German? Is that?
I don't think so. I think it's because the character is inspired off of it was I believe a Japanese fighting game that has like this
Oh.
whole roster of characters. Someone in Twitch chat is probably going to be an expert on this and just thought Toho. That's what it was called, Toho. There was a character there called Marissa, I believe it was, and that's basically where they took the Final Spark from.
Okay.
There's a little lesson on some League stuff.
Yeah. some
Let's
good
talk
lore.
about
I mean,
Zack and Sound soon.
Yeah, I told you guys we're scholars of the game. You can come to us for for tidbits and knowledge. So, we didn't even touch on the Soraka yet. Soraka Prataption, this is a lot of healing provided to this team that otherwise doesn't really have a whole lot of it. The sustain can be really helpful. The only real champion that can aggress onto you is this Hecarim too, so I quite like this champion if you can stay alive in the lane and not get picked off by all the snares.
And all I think about every time I see Soraka, go to the caster showdown, and what Wolverine's team was called over there was just basically like the Soraka Simps, if you will. Yeah, it's a fun one to see get put in, just from what you could really do with the Soraka being paired up alongside Varus. And, the pressure that you get from Leo and Perry and what they can do and what they have been doing for EGP for the most part.
You're bringing back haunted memories of the Soraka thing there, but you're
Say we
right.
gotta
it's a
have
really
another
solid
showdown?
Victor. Yeah, we do.
We just gotta-
Gotta reach out to Steve. You can set that one up again. Steve Kangas, everybody, stand up human. EG Prodigies, they've got these huge frontliners in this game. Faisal going back to the tank duties. This series has really been a new look for Faisal, honestly, because like I said, he usually is playing a lot of these bruisers. So for him coming into this one and saying, hey, our best bet of winning this series to get us into the playoffs is me not playing a carry and instead picking this Scion, that's really, really huge for Evil Genius's Prodigies. This is an entirely different look for them than what we would have expected coming in to this tournament 2 weeks ago, and I'm really enjoying it.
Now, it's time for match points, Max. 1-1 apiece. Ginger Turmeric, Evil Genius's Prodigies. It's a familiar, comfortable space for us, Max. We only go to game threes here on this casting desk, and no different in this matchup here between Ginger and EGP.
Yeah, for those of you who have not seen all of the games, Destrux and I have casted 4 series together, and all of them, all the distance. So it's absolutely phenomenal. Most of them have been in this group, Group B, which I guess that's just our luck, Group B, Group Banger. We're here, we're closing it out right now. We're gonna find out who the second seed out of Group B is after this match.
And what a trip, considering this was supposed to be one of the more snooze in terms of groups. Ended up being the most intense group of them all.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The expectations for these two teams, for Redbird Esports and Immortals, were just like, oh yeah, Immortals probably gonna just win every single game, and they did win every match, but they had a really tough time actually getting there. I'm sure everyone remembers the base race against Redbird. I probably shouldn't bring it up in case Redbird's watching right now. That's probably a little mean.
And that race was very much epic, and so are the storylines that unfold here in the Proving Grounds. I was talking about how much I actually really do enjoy Proving Grounds because you see the growth of these players, the development. That's why I'm such a Winthrop fan, because I get to see so much of them through Proving Grounds.
Both these teams have shown us a lot of that one. Evil Genius's Prodigy just a bit more because we did see them at the start of the year. Ginger Turmeric only recently joined us, but we've seen some really cool diversity from them, as well as this mid lane Perry is trying to find an angle, but with City Witty here, it's really tough.
Just a passing hello and goodbye as Perry heads over towards his Raptor camp, but City Witty Gonna look to stalk him out. Actually, not even going for the stalk yet. Wait, doubles in, goes after Perry. Perry taking a good chunk of damage, has to smite the Raptor camp to get some extra health to try and survive. The red buff is there. It's burning, it's ticking, it's first bloods. City Witty.
Man, that was calculated. He got the fade away as well. He's like, all right, this queue's enough. Red buff's got me. I'm leaving. It was completely true as well. Taking the red buff now. And Leo couldn't quite get over there either. The wave is in a really weird spot. He's out of mana as well, no potions. So City Witty completely gets away with this one. Taking the red buff, he's going to take the Krugs as well. And now Perry is left with nothing to do.
Rough, brutal start coming out from Perry. City Witty, beautiful read. Following through after Perry slipped up in that early. Now Perry's going to try and make something happen as he starts heading towards the bottom lane. No camps into this area, but a lot of damage coming out from the duo of EGP as Perry comes behind the tower, still waiting to push in that minion wave. Duo King very low here, and no City Witty in sight. Here comes the engage, getting snared underneath the wall. Daption steals away the aggro. Piercing arrow doesn't land onto Lagrange. Ginger are juggling this beautifully, but finally, Lagrange might be caught out. No! Lagrange gets Perry! Beautiful play from Ginger Turmeric's bot lane.
Oh, Lagrange, that was filthy positioning there. Another fadeaway from the members of Ginger Turmeric. He drops the Dark Binding and flashes out, immediately running away, knowing that the turrets got him. Oh, Sketch! Oh, it's
Sketch
enough!
low. He gets the kill, though. He gets out barely. That was...
More arrow?
It's a situation where it was going to look great for Ginger Turmeric, but EGP, they just pressed on it. Sketch gets the kill.
Insisting that at least one kill will come through for Evil Geniuses after going through all of this effort to make it happen. The stun lands onto Lagrange, and you can see the Dapsh is trying to follow up on it, but they're going for a bit too much. You can see the Duo King has way too much movement with the flash and with the heal, and Lagrange flashing out as well. Underneath the Dark Binding, Perry falls a second time.
That was so stylish, Smax. Pops the Dark Binding and flashes at the exact same time. But man, that brute force from Sketch, he was not leaving empty-handed.
Yeah, he definitely was not. And he didn't leave empty-handed either. With that kill, he's able to afford Noon Quiver, which is the most different Varus build that we've seen today. It's not the lethality build. He is going for that DPS. And this does mean that he is more geared toward auto-attacking a bunch of times in these team fights and trying to whittle away at these frontliners. Ideally, in this case, Sketch is able to stay at a distance from existence where he's not getting hooked by the Apprehend, but is still able to chunk him out with all these autos.
Watching City Witty as the teleport just came out of Leo. City Witty and DNA kind of trying to duo roam together. And that's always one of the most valuable times you can take down a mid laner or a top laner at that aspect. If you can take them down right after they've taken their teleport and they're forced to just walk back the slow way, one of the most painful things you can really deal with, but not going to be the case as City Witty puts his attention onto Perry rather than the mid lane, pushes him around in his own jungle. The third of his HP, control ward being placed as Ginger Turmeric start fighting for dragon control.
City Witty up 4 camps right now, 2 levels because of it. Moves over to this Drake, has the smite available and ult. Looks like DNA is going to abandon his mid lane just briefly so he can move over and assist in the Drake alongside Duo King Perry. Or just left to watch. Maybe he can attempt to steal. It's going to be hard.
Going for it. Stun onto Duo King. Gets caught by Piercing Arrow. Unleashed power. Too big from DNA. Onslaught of Shadows finds 2. Going after Sketch's City, but doesn't have the mana to continue the dive. Sketch will get away, but a great play from Ginger Turmeric.
Good moves from City Witty. Punishes Perry yet again. That's 3 deaths now on the Volibear. And Sketch has to use his cleanse. Daption falls. This is going to be a turret plate or 2 for the bottom lane of Ginger Turmeric, not to mention the Cloud and Ginger are off to a phenomenal start in this early game. Something that was true in the last one, but there's just something about it that feels more devastating this time.
Much more so, considering one of the plays was Evil Geniuses made on the bottom lane. So far, so good for Ginger Turmeric as they get about just over 2k lead very early on in this game, 8 minutes in. A lot of that gold going on to Lagrange, a lot of that gold going on to City Witty. Good spots to have it.
At this point, SRX, we're seeing Evil Genius's Prodigies. They have a very, very slight, I hesitate to call it a lead, but Sketch is staying afloat in this lane. Everywhere else is a bit of a panic. Especially Faisal here, who's been left in isolation, tank versus Darius. And he, as the tank, is seeing across the rift that his team is not getting a whole lot for it. This is an uncomfy spot for the Scion player, and even though he's got this exhaust, you have to imagine that he doesn't really want to fight 1v1 against Existence anytime soon. Oh, wow, yeah, that gold graph is not good for Faisal.
Oh, I didn't realize just how far behind he was. About 400 gold separating the top laners.
Yeah, it's to be expected in this matchup, but it doesn't make it any easier to look at.
And you can see why. Faisal just struggles to get close enough because the Apprehend is always being threatened by Existence. You know, you get the armor shred on that, even though you have the Bramble, the bleed, and the Noxian Guillotine, the true damage. It's a threat, and Faisal's paying a lot of respect to that.
He's playing it well. He's not dying. He's not giving up a lot of turret damage. He's farming the best he can. That's just the nature of this matchup. You have to sacrifice a whole lot so that you can pick this tank later on and be an effective frontliner. Existence needs to use this lead that he has and snowball it into being a dominant bruiser later on. That's why he has this ghost. He needs to be in that melee range, getting all of these bleed stacks off and chunking out these members while going through Soraka healing, which is actually the toughest part.
You can see over in the top lane a little bit, Faisal getting bullied out half of his health. Did see an Apprehend go off from Existence, who's just shoving him into that tower. You're seeing more pressure being applied from EGP over when it comes to this mid side of the map, this bottom side of the map. They just want Faisal to play this weak side and survive it without giving up much. And as you said, he's doing a good job so far.
Yeah, as quiet as it is right now, this is the best thing that EG could ask for, or maybe a gank.
Ooh, Chain of Corruptions, Perry showing up in the bot lane. The race is on, and Sketch gets the better of it, but Lagrange will get the better of Sketch. Picks up that kill. It will be kill number 3 as Daption and Perry chase down Lagrange, waiting for that cooldown of the Dark Binding. Gonna be thwarted with the ultimate. Another pat on the back. It's a bear paw land and a shutdown over for Perry.
Oh no, Faisal might just die to the minions. He's getting as many as he can before he goes into zombie form. Wait.
Didn't even let him pop the shield. That was mean, City.
Still gets most of those minions. He wants some more! And I think we're going to get another look at what actually happened up here. Faisal, rather healthy for now. As we know in the aftermath, not true for very long. Knocked away from that turret.
All pain.
Fortunately for Cityway, it does look like he actually gets bumped back into the turret with the ultimate, as Faisal survives just barely through the bleed and gives him some time to take some minions.
The impending doom feels bad. Did his best on that one. Existence almost went down on the back half of that. But now EGP, as we said, they're not really focusing towards that top side. It's just about Faisal surviving more than anything else. A good move coming out from City to get some extra income, but he has to utilize that elsewhere on the map now that he's gotten that kill.
Where to actually put it is the thing. we're definitely witnessing a bit of a struggle at this point. I want to see Evil Genius's Prodigies continue stalling this out. I did like the bottom lane gank, but I think as long as you're not giving up too much for Ginger, you can wait a bit and specifically let your Rise scale, because that is going to be Leo's big thing that he wants to do in this game. You can see he's not really participating a lot in this game. That's just not what Rise needs to do in this game. He needs to keep getting as many minions as possible, as many turret platings as possible, if he actually can. It's a tough ask, but it's something that he could look to do.
Both of these teams are itching to get around this dragon area. Perry is the first one. Daption is there. So is Leo. Kind of rough when you don't have that lane priority over on the bottom side. Sketch is going to have to stay down there to clear out that wave and not miss too much in CS. And this is going to be the response from Ginger. They're looking for the engage. They're going after Daption. Daption with a nice juke right there, using the flash to get away. But Dragon being secured by EGP. Chain of Corruption goes out. City Witty is locked down, and a shutdown going over to Sketch.
Good response for EGP. They bring all of these members, and they have so much crowd control on top of City Witty, not using any of it into the Black Shield because it was used on the initiation, and because Daption had such a beautiful flash, actually leaves Evil Genius's Prodigies with all of their members and all of their sustain intact, taking away that full dragon and a pick. A lot more than they could have asked for Evil Genius's Prodigies, and we're seeing again what is actually in store for their late game, as I believe DNA tried to just dive under the turret.
Did. Very low health, and he's got a bear after him. He's also got a Hex Gate. Oh! Oh! Facts.
League of Legends.
Not this. Not this. Of course it had to be a hex map for the final one of the day.
Yep. You know, there aren't a lot of plays in League of Legends where you know the exact odds that something goes wrong, but for EG Prodigies, there was an exactly 20% chance that they don't get that kill.
The pain, the pain, the pain. That's all you can really say as DNA does get away. Leandri is going to be completed for DNA now. Starts working towards that second item. Not the case for Leo, but also to be expected, going that tier build first. Is CSing still quite well into this mid lane matchup of DNA versus Leo.
This is what you need to be able to do on this Rise in this matchup. I actually want to point out a bit of an anomaly, because we're seeing that Leo is doing the correct response to go for full boots in this matchup. You usually expect Syndra to go for full boots, but DNA actually takes a bit of a detour from that. The reason you go for full boots on Syndra is because you are able to cast all of your spells, specifically the Q, I should say, while moving, so the movement speed is really nice on that champion.
Oh, Faisal pulled back
man.
in. Noxian Guillotine goes down.
Ooh.
Decimate does not land, but the bleed is there. Tick, tick away. Faisal falls 1v1 for existence.
There is no.
I thought once was funny. The second one, oh, that's just too much. Leo's dead mid lane. Oh man, two
Leo
kills.
falling in the mid lane, a potential dive coming out in the bot lane. Sketch gonna lead it, gets the piercing arrow. Duo King falls. Lagraine to fall as well. A double kill going over to Sketch as City Witty joins and runs right through him. Nice timing on the stopwatch from Perry.
Well, it's a 2-for-2 across the map right now as Perry is looking for the Hecarim, just bullying him away from that one, as Ginger is getting a ton of turret damage in mid and in top. You get to watch Leo's great escape in this one. Or no, he doesn't escape, he's dead. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, Leo. Good mechanics from City Witty there. Nice,
He
nice
escaped to the respawn, Smacks. He escaped to the respawn.
He got to the fountain one way or the other.
So we're in for a slugfest. Taking a look at the bot lane, a lot of kills coming out there, but for the jungle Ginger Turmeric, 4-1-0. City Witty is going to be looking for plays. We said he needed to start putting his presence onto the map elsewhere, and that was the right move. Go for the dive onto Leo. He couldn't do anything about it because DNA brings too much to the fight. Faisal attempts an engage over by the river.
Not quite the Drift King. He needed to be to get around that corner. Face plants into the wall. But it would have been a tough ask to continue that team fight all in all for Evil Geniuses. They are still at that deficit, and they need to consider where they can actually stem the bleeding at this point. They have a lot of turrets that are being destroyed under their noses. Top lane very nearly dead, as we see nobody was even there for Ginger Turmeric in the bottom lane, but that still died thanks to the minion push. Ginger instead are moving over to this Rift Herald, and they will have that one.
Rift Herald picked up. City Witty pocketing that. DNA over the wall. There's a control ward there, so EGP knowing that Ginger
boy.
Turmeric are walking here, but
Whoa.
DNA, you're not exactly a frontliner, and Parry is going to test that one. DNA still alive, and Duo King is gunning Parry down as Daption falls on the back line. Another swipe coming out from City Witty, and that's 2 down for EGP.
That was such an adventurous blast cone there for DNA, but it pays off so well. Double kill for Ginger, very nearly a third as Parry somehow limps away on this Volibear. Still so low, just now going to recall. And I believe is Leo also finding his base before the rest of the team arrives. Ginger get 2 kills topside, get to push in that wave again, and they move to drink.
What in the world? Why does the Earth still exist right now? There should be a black hole emanating from DNA, because my god, the balls to be the front line into 3 members of EGP and still get away killing Parry. That was a hell of a way to do an engage. It very ill-advised one, but it worked. It worked nonetheless.
We got a realm warp up in the top lane. It's 2 members here to try to kill DNA. Flash forward.
Oh, yep, right onto DNA. DNA goes on to Sketch. Can he get the last orb? He does! He shuts him down. Sketch gets the gold, but DNA still gets his revenge.
And Sketch instantly is like, yep, that's a wit's end for me. I'm buying that as soon as possible. There it is. No chance can I survive in this game without wit's end. Oh boy, he's right.
Pocketing that, getting that magic resist, that's very, very desperately needed at this stage. DNA with 2 items completed, now just finishing his Morellonomicons on top of that. So yeah, you'll need that. You'll definitely need that, Sketch.
Yes, very wise move. We move forward into this game. Ginger Turmeric's lead is continuing to grow. It's up to 5,000 at this point. And these plays continue to be made off the back of City Witty just getting around and being a superior jungler, at least in this game. We're seeing that early game movement that we saw, taking away the jungle camps and just bullying Parry out so many times, really working out. And City Witty is playing the scaling member.
Attempted play on the top side, lockdown DNA. Put a tent onto DNA. EGP want to cease the Syndra's. Daption walks around, spotting City Witty, who's looking for an engage. Teleport now looking to come through as existence. Apprehend onto 2. Onslaught of Shadows runs right through him. Lagrange joins the fight, puts on the shackles, sends Parry back to the grave. Faisal tries to get away, but Ginger Turmeric, you took their mid laner. They're going to take your lives.
I think this is going to be a Baron Desterux. They got so many of those members. City Witty believes in this Baron take, and everybody falls in line. Faisal does not have teleport. Leo does, but he's dead. And even though Sketch is getting some chunk damage onto this mid lane turret, he won't take it, and Ginger get everything they want all at once. That apprehend from existence was phenomenal, and Daption didn't have flash from before, so he gets taken out. There's no sustain on this squad, and Ginger wipe the fight.
The follow-up tools you have for that apprehend. We saw one on display, Onslaught of Shadows, but everything that has been brought by Ginger works so well with that ability if you can land it in a clutch team fight, just like we had over on that top side where EGP commit everything to take DNA. Now it's going to be Ginger marching down this mid lane. They have Shelly, 22 minutes on the clock. It's still rather early, and they're looking to exponentiate their gold lead quite quickly.
Nobody's here to stop this Rift Herald from charging yet again. That's an inhibitor turret. Maybe even a full inhibitor if they want to test their luck around this fight. You can see Parry is on a flank. Can he actually make this one work out? Can EG Prodigies find a miracle fight? Parry is going to try. Maybe. Oh, he's not going to do it. The window closed.
You were feeling it. You were hoping for it. He had the flank right there. But the risk is real. If EGP don't succeed in that victory, in that team fight, there's a very real chance they lose the rest of their base.
Yeah, that's 100% true. The Baron buff is way too devastating. One misstep in that one would cost them the series, the game, and their tournament. Evil Genius's Prodigies are again on the cusp in Proving Grounds points. If they win this game, they are almost guaranteed to be in that top 6. They lose, they're probably out.
Oh, here comes Existence once again. 4 members around him trying to put down the guillotine. Decimate goes through, provides a lot of healing. The shielding coming through from Duo King. Existence survives for so long, but now City Witty is alone. 4 members of EGP. Look at the bot lane. Ginger, Turmeric are pushing down. Sketch going right after City Witty. Doesn't thrown out. The Chain of Corruption's finally going to land it as Sketch tries to run away, gets the shutdown onto City Witty. Another tower falling as a bot lane inner gets claimed by Ginger.
Jungler and mid laner dead on the side of Ginger. Turmeric, as we see Evil Genius's Prodigies, they find a couple of good picks. They don't get any objective bounty gold, so it's not quite so meaningful. And due to that bot lane push, Ginger, Turmeric still have so much time and effort they can spend over to ward this dragon. Soul Point, Hextech Soul. This is huge for Ginger as they try to close out this series.
Oh man, Ginger, man, they are looking good in this game so far. They did take that first series when they met EGP at the start of this group stage. Now on this second series, looking to make that a repeat. 3 games it was. Ginger, Turmeric take a lead in the late stages of this. 24 minutes in, 7K afforded to their name. They start setting up around this Baron area. Ginger, Turmeric, such strong lead. Soul Point, so close. Taking a stock of items. You almost have that 3rd item complete for DNA. As City Witty goes for an engage right onto Daption. Daption getting chunked away. Does not fall. Just chased right out of his jungle. Ginger, Turmeric owned the place.
Daption, bit lucky they didn't actually fall right there. There was definitely a world where that happens in City Witty decides to pull the trigger and use the ultimate onto the healing member of Evil Genius's Prodigies to try to close this out right here and right now. Slow and Steady wins the race for Ginger, as it turns out, as they keep their scaling going with Duo King and they keep hitting these structures with everything they have.
We're getting closer towards that last stand. A lot of damage onto Faisal. Gets chunked out past half health. Even Daption struggling to heal him back up. But this is the stranglehold now. Super minions into the mid lane. A minion wave just on the back of Ginger, Turmeric as they continue their siege towards the top.
They're going to get this turret. Almost surely. There's no wave clear to actually kill all of these minions. Do they actually get the inhibitor, though? That's the question.
Oh, here we go. Faisal jumps in, going on to DNA. DNA trying to make the run. He gets out. He's still alive. City Witty falls to Leo as Existence doing work onto the back line, throwing out those decimates. Faisal will fall. Apprehend doesn't grab Perry. Perry jumps back in. He's trying to turn this around. Health bar's getting low for Evil Genius's Prodigies as Ginger, Turmeric. They get Faisal. They get Leo. They get Daption. And now they're looking to get the series.
I think they're going to do it right now. Destrux, they have all these minions. One Nexus turret down. Perry can't survive. And Apprehend onto Sketch. And he's dead too.
The ace is completed. Ginger, Turmeric, despite EGP being the favorites, they throw caution to the wind and they bring a furious fight to take this series in Game 3.
Oh man, Ginger, Turmeric, they fought tooth and nail to get to this point. This series was so close. If you played this series out again and again for the next 100 days, you'd have a different result every single time. But it's only today that matters for this series. It's only today that matters to go into that playoff bracket. And that team is Ginger, Turmeric.
Oh man, I almost want to be part of a chant that just says "Fight forever" between these two squads. Evil Geniuses, Prodigies, Ginger Turmeric, both very heavy-handed teams as they slugged it out here today. But Ginger Turmeric, and in that final game, everything was falling into their favor.
I I really liked this Hecarim pick for City Witty. He showed us what it means to be a carry in that jungle, and we know that this guy can do it. We know that he was capable last year when he was playing on those teams in 2021, and even before that as well. Coming into this team and being that big carry force on it is so clutch. And they keep showing us the most creative ways to make this Senna champion work. No other team is playing Senna like Duo King is. Lagrange just picked Morgana 80 carry in this game. Who does that?
Lagrange does. Ginger Turmeric does. That is who. Hats off to them as they take this victory, take this series win, and proceed towards the bracket stage. But for the casting, that's wrapping things up for us, Max. You got any closing words?
Oh, casting this tournament has been amazing. Every single series that we've done, Deserx has gone the distance. I can't wait for the rest of it. Can't wait for the main Proving Grounds event. I hope both these teams are in it because they definitely fought hard to deserve that spot. I think Ginger Turmeric needs to win a bit more to actually qualify, but boy, oh boy, do I think that they've got a shot.
And Proving Grounds, Groupie, Group Banger. Before we throw it off towards the analyst test, we want to give one more shout out to one of our sponsors, and that again is going to be Skulls. Looking to upgrade your gamer gear? Look no further. Start 2022 off right with official unified esports merchandise brought to you by Skulls. Hoodies, joggers, jerseys, armbands, and a lot more coming soon. You have the skill, now get the swag. Skulls.com/collections/unified has everything you need. Gear up and game on. Sierra, please take it away.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It was a valiant effort, but not quite enough, but I still needed to take some time, sit down with you, Daption. First, hello, thank you so much for joining us on air.
Thank you for having me.
So, I'll just, I'll rip the Band-Aid off right clean. That very first game, we all thought that y'all were gonna have it, and then right at the end, what happened?
Just like a few mistakes that have been happening with us, and unfortunately we couldn't like iron them out for this, this series, and obviously that sucks, and the immediate reaction is to be like upset, but I think it's another kind of great learning experience from us, because if we hadn't learned it, at this point into our careers, like, imagine when we would have learned it. Do you want to learn this in the Proving Grounds tournament? Do you want to learn it like later on in your career? Like, I'm completely fine with this game being the game where, we learn that there are specific things that we can't do in the game. And yeah, I think that's the way the whole team is taking it going forward. And yeah.
I love that. I love that attitude, because that's exactly right. When are you going to learn it? Mistakes happen. So is that then something that you and the rest of the team really kind of approach League like? Just, mistakes happen. If we grow, as long as we're always growing, it's going to be okay?
Yeah, basically. I mean, everyone on the team definitely love to try things out and love to, see what works and what doesn't. We're always the type of team to like go for like tricky invade, tricky 2v2s and stuff like that, and try to like flip the game. And then sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it just so happened that this time was like one of the times that it did. And obviously not saying that we're like coin flip or anything, but I'm saying that we just like to try everything out until it's proven that it's a bad thing.
No, and I mean, from a viewer perspective, it honestly did kind of seem coin flippy which way things could have gone. Like, one moment you're thinking like, okay, no, Ginger Turmeric, this is theirs, and others it's like, no, like EGP, like they're really fantastic right now. So it was definitely a really, really close series. But for you and the rest of the team, especially experimenting and stuff going forward, is there any little sneak peek in what you might be experimenting with yet?
I actually have no idea, I'm not gonna lie, because it hasn't been discussed yet, because we just didn't know what the result of today was gonna be. And not saying that like you know, we're not going into every game like hoping that we're gonna win and like thinking like, you know, this is gonna be our win. But obviously we don't want to be cocky players and just say like, oh, we're gonna fucking like destroy Ginger Turmeric, and it's gonna come and bite us back in the behind. So happy we didn't do that, but unfortunately we know we don't have any plans for the future. So sorry about that.
No apologies. And then with this series and stuff today, obviously you don't want to be overconfident with things, but did y'all come into this with confidence? Did you think that, like, you know, maybe this last time we could take this victory, this one's ours? Or
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the entire week, I mean, I think the entire team was just, you know, ready to we were like prepping for this next match, and we were like, we're not going to lose to Ginger Turmeric again. Like, this is not going to happen to us. And individually, we all thought like, you know what, we're better than our opponent players, and just because we didn't win as a team doesn't mean that we're worse players than them. Yeah.
wow, I love that. I mean, that's an attitude that's gonna honestly take you and the rest of the team far. So then, for those who, you know, experienced defeat, obviously making it in today, there's a lot of teams that didn't make it. What would be like your quick, like, pick me up word of advice for them to keep going? Because morale, that's a huge thing in this game.
Yeah, I think just like keep your head up high, because if you have a passion in League, you know, that is never going to go away. But the only thing that will go away is your motivation for the game. So yeah, you know, don't ever give up something, you know, you have dreams of becoming or like dreams of like chasing, and just keep going, because, you know, the dream job or the dream thing that you're chasing after isn't going to come easy. And hell knows that today wasn't easy for us, but, you know, we move forward.
I mean, you move forward, you rebuild, build back up, and come back stronger ever. But before I let you go, to go, you know, get some Uber Eats, wind down for the night, I'm gonna give you the stage. Floor is yours. Any shout outs, parting words, it's all yours.
Shout outs to Peter Dunn, Rosvan, Draxer. I have so many of my friends I have to shout out to, but mainly for coaching staff, Ido as well. Just everyone on the team that's really ready to give us their all and just really, you know, help us move into the right direction. Manui, you know, all of my friends, all of my teammates, thank you for everything that you've done, and I'm so like proud of you guys, and I know that you guys are proud of me. And obviously this defeat comes at a very high price, but I still know that you guys are there for me, and thank you for that.
I love that, and I can't wait to see where you and the rest of the team are going to be going up to in the future, because I mean, that's a winner's mentality right there. I love it. So thank you for sitting down and talking with me. We're going to throw it to a short break before coming back with our next interview. Hello, everyone. Welcome back with our winner's interview. I have Lagrange here from Ginger Turmeric. First off, thank you so much for sitting down with me. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We just won, so kind of happy.
I mean, yeah, that's always a great feeling going into it, right? But did you realistically think going into this series after the first win that you would take the victory, or were yours kind of shaking up a little bit? Because you did get that first map win, but it was a little sus, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think we just barely clutched the first game, but then second game, for some reason, I was playing Varus, and I think Varus is like the biggest bait champ that you can ever pick. So I was kind of useless the whole game. And then once we realized that Varus was actually not that good, then we just played against it, and it went pretty smoothly on game 3.
Yeah, game 3 definitely seemed to be a lot sailor smoothing for y'all. So do you think that was the biggest reason, or was there something else also at play for that?
I think the second game is just our comp is just so hard to execute, and since we're basically not scrimming or not practicing or anything, then it was pretty hard to execute. So we should just pick like easier comps to play, and once we did that in game 3, it was much easier, and we just came out with a dub.
Okay. And then this victory obviously means that you will be moving on into playoffs, so congratulations. First round, you guys are going to be playing against No Team. How are you feeling about this? Confident? A little nervous?
To be completely honest, I don't even know who that team is, so I'm not really worrying about anyone in the split proving ground, to be honest. The only team that I'm kind of worried about might play in the next proving ground. It's a super team that's coming up soon, but for this proving ground, I'm pretty sure we're gonna do all right. I'm pretty confident with this team.
That's awesome. And then with today's performance, the fact that it did come a little close at time, are y'all still, happy with it, happy with everything performed, or have to go back to the drawing table a little bit before heading into playoffs?
I mean, to be honest, I think all games are going to be kind of clown fiesta. This is amateur after all, so we're just going to keep rolling with it and see what happens.
All right. And then for yourself, what are your own goals going into the future?
Just playing League of Legends. That's about it.
You have a dream team?
I'm not really looking to go pro or anything. I'm just playing this tournament for fun with some friends.
Okay. That's awesome. And then final question, are you and your friends gonna celebrate? Are you gonna do anything good, get some good food, or just, this is just another day in the life of League?
Just another day. I don't think we'll celebrate too much. I think we're playing pretty soon. I think we're playing, some people were saying we're playing tomorrow or something, so
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we better not drink too much tonight.
You gotta be responsible, drink lots of water. But first, before I send you off, I will give the floor to you. Any shout outs or any parting words that you would like to share?
Yeah, I want to take a moment to thank all the first responders, military, law enforcement. You guys are the real heroes. Thanks for keeping us free, and I'm super happy to play League of Legends for you guys, so thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sitting with us. Have a great rest of your night. As for me, it's time to head back over to the analyst desk to catch up on this series just as a whole, how everything was shaking up, and maybe rub it in RMC's face a little bit about the predictions.
Okay, you know what? I'll take it. I did, after all, go with the main flow, going with EGP there. And Ginger Turmeric, well-deserved win on their part. Definitely really, really cool nerves there. And even listening to the interview with Lagrange as well, Lagrange just doesn't seem fazed by anything. It's just another day in the office room.
No, that's awesome, because watching it, it definitely was sweating a little bit on behalf of the teams with how, it was the result that I predicted, but honestly, watching it, we really could have gone either way. Don't you agree, Hare?
Yeah, I think it was pretty intense. I would say that the first game it showed that EGP had some cracks in it, and then the second game kind of made me doubt my guess, because I saw that they had a really strong performance during that game. But then the third game, we brought it back. Sierra, we just knew from the beginning that it was going to be a 2-1, and what can we say?
We just knew deep down in our heart and our brains, because we are the smartest two people on this broadcast. Sorry, RMC. But you're smart. I want to hear what you're thinking about, the draft and how things were shaking up for this third match, because this seemed really just cool and calm and collective in Ginger Turmeric's favor.
Yeah. We all saw the series, right? Like Ginger Turmeric, they just played it really, really well. And even though they did lose the game too, I do want to highlight, sort of how their early game went. I think Ginger Turmeric did sort of fix their early game a little bit, and it really benefited them in game 3, because similar to what happened in game 2, right? Like they managed to get an early lead, and it really set EGP behind. In fact, it was roughly around here that it happened. You see Perry looking for that invade. Perry takes damage coming across, and more importantly, Perry ends up dying at the end of this particular play. And the City Witty on this Hecarim that was supposed to be a little bit behind the Volibear early, not as strong a ganker, gets a level lead. Next thing we see, they're at a dragon, and there's a 2 lead difference where City Witty is level 6 and Perry's only level 4.
Yeah, that was definitely, a little bit problematic if you're betting on the side of EGP there. But there was also another problematic issue later in the game that I feel like kind of cemented their fate this next replay that we have coming up. I don't know who feels more passionate about talking through this one.
Yeah, I got this one. So I feel like you hit the nail on the head. This was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. It was kind of like an insane play, honestly. The blast cone from DNA over here, I'm not sure if you saw Perry was there, but then somehow he lives. And I really just want to highlight how well DNA played that mechanically, where he used his ult as a way to peel. And I think this fight right here was really the first fight that we saw that I really felt that Turmeric was just going to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that this was, back and forth between game 1 and game 2, but just the difference in game 3. Is there anything else that you would really just love to bring to attention that, this is what made this team pull off such a definitive win?
Besides what RMC said about, that early game jungle plays, I think that was a huge thing. I also think it was really interesting the Syndra versus Ryze matchup again, and how they played it. How in the first game it seemed as almost like playing slowly benefited more EGP, but in this game I think the more slow play style actually winded up benefiting Turmeric more, because they got that jungle lead and Syndra was able to get that priority when she needed it and eventually translate that into a greater victory for her team.
That's awesome. But Ginger Turmeric, you're going to be moving on, but we do have a little graphic to show just how things shaken up during the day for anyone who, was just hanging out here, maybe didn't catch our earlier games. Of course, winners moving on to playoffs. Winthrop taking a victory 2-1 over Bogged. Ginger Turmeric 2-1 over EGP. It's the Deserex and Max curse over here on Academy. I'm telling you, all these games going the distance, because you look over at Unified Live, Maryville University, Wildcards, Aces, gonna be the take very strong victories here. Are you guys surprised what's shaken up over at Unified Live? We'll throw it to our RMC for this one. Are you surprised by those results? I know we didn't get to watch them, but just off the top of your head?
A little bit, that they were both 2-0s there. I was expecting, some closer games. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to catch the game, so I don't know how close they were. But a little bit surprised at how it all broke down there. I think Wildcard Aces beating Maryville is one that, some people probably not as expected. I can't quite remember the caster predictions there, but I'm very glad to see that one, because I personally think Wildcard Ace is currently a little bit underrated.
Oh, I like that you brought up the caster predictions, because that's actually where we're headed next. Specifically, I want to be calling out Deserex, who was dancing over on our stream earlier, who finally got a prediction wrong today with Ginger Turmeric. So thank you. You had to know that one was coming after the dancing, but I mean, predictions, the fact that, maybe the crown isn't as tight as we once thought, but going into our own predictions as well. We already touched on this, but Eric, biggest brains over on this end. RMC, do you regret your choice?
No regrets. I love Daption's interview, by the way, and I love that attitude. That's why I love the EGP boys here. And yeah, you called it a definitive win, Sierra. I don't know if I'd call it definitive. So no regrets. I still think EGP on any other day maybe could have won it.
All right, Eric, how are you feeling? Is that a shared sentiment, or are we, Team Ginger Turmeric all the way?
No, I really think that EGP put up a great fight. I think that they have really great players, and I think that the games felt very even, and I think that I think he's right, under different circumstances they could have definitely pulled it together and won that series. But I had the feeling that Turmeric were going to show up this time, and you can't deny the feeling, and the feeling was right.
True.
Now for sure. But now that we know what teams are going to the playoffs, we have to take a little look at the schedule and what we can start, keeping an eye on. Right out of the gate, RMC, which matchup is just screaming banger to you?
IMT AoE versus Winthrop. We
Oh,
said
really?
it. Yep, like after we saw Winthrop take it there, we already said, that one, they've met before. There's history between these two teams, recent history, just last tournament as well. And I mean, you heard Frostforest, man, that was the matchup that they wanted. They think they can take IMT AoE. So with such strong words from them, with a banger top lane matchup, that is the one I think that I'm most excited for.
Eric, any of them catch your eye, or are we just all eyes on this Immortals Winthrop match?
Right now, I really just put my heart and soul into this match. I have to really look and see how the other teams are standing right now. But, I'm rooting for everyone.
We'll make you pay for
I'm rooting
favorites.
for the
We'll make
winners.
Oh, okay. It's like that. I see you. Well, I hope that you'll be tuning in, and then we'll get to chat with you again soon. It's time that we part ways, but it was a pleasure
Yes.
having you on the broadcast. Thank you, Eric, so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
It's absolutely amazing. And we do have to thank the sponsors as well of this stream, of course, for helping make things happen. So thank you so much. Of course, it is getting to the end of the broadcast and time for us all to part ways. But make sure to be tuning in tomorrow with the amount of action that we've seen so far in the Proving Ground Circuit qualifiers too. These playoffs are going to be absolutely amazing. On behalf of everyone here, we thank you and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.